We will get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Michelle Smith. I am here on behalf of Harvard Pilgrim Health and Tufts. I am a registered licensed dietitian, and I'm also a certified lifestyle coach. So welcome to our presentation today on diet trends, what works and what doesn't. Let's get started. Keep in mind that you can certainly put in any questions or comments that you may have in the chat box, and I will try to leave some time at the end of the presentation to go over them. Also, feel free to add any information that you might have that I may not have shared here, especially when it comes to diet trends. If there's something I didn't mention, please feel free to put it in the chat box to share it with others, because we can certainly learn from each other. So let's get started. I'm going to shut off my camera. And here we go. So before we get into the diet trends, let's just understand that there are two different definitions of a diet. So a lot of times people say, oh, this is the way I eat. This is my diet. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're dieting to lose weight or for medical reasons, that this is the kind of food that they habitually eat. Okay, so that's the definition of diet. Another definition is a special course of food to which one restricts to lose weight or for medical reasons. Now, I think it's important to understand that there is something out there called diet culture. Okay, and this is what we're trying to move people away from, is this diet culture, because a lot of our clients are becoming vulnerable, they're overwhelmed, they don't know which direction to go in. So there's a lot of labeling of foods as good or bad. There's a lot of anxiety and guilt and body shaming, and I could go on and on. Okay, so this is what diet culture looks like in this little slide here on the left. All right, and then here is the definition of what diet culture is. And again, we want to remove people from this style of thinking. But diet culture is a system of social beliefs and expectations that values thinness above all, equates having a thin body with being healthy, and assumes those in larger bodies are unhealthy. So let me ask you, do you think this is true or false? It is false. Okay, so being thin does not represent being healthy. Can I tell you how many clients I have who are thin who have high cholesterol? And research shows that if you have an individual who is thin and inactive, and an individual who is active at least 30 minutes, 5 days a week, and is overweight, the person who's overweight and active is actually healthier and will have better biochemical data than the thin person who is inactive. So thinness does not equate to health. Okay, and then here's one of those statements that the diet culture tends to just love. Okay, burn unwanted belly fat fast with a simple 10-second method. Watch. I don't know if you've ever seen this on your phone or on your laptop and you're curious. And so you go through and they keep taking through all these different channels and they never really give you the answer to this. So it's super inspiring. It draws you in. You're so curious. You want to learn more, right? But is it true? All right, well, here are the facts. That's just one example of how people who are focused, who are falling into that diet culture, that's one of an examples of what they're drawn to. But here are the facts, all right? What actually decreases our metabolism? I know we want to increase our metabolism, but here's the fact. Restrictive diets, eating less energy than what your body requires, is going to decrease your metabolism. Inadequate sleep will decrease your metabolism. Skipping meals, as we mature, our metabolism decreases, and being inactive. Okay, so it's super important to understand, what does your lifestyle look like? It's not just about diet, it's a synergy of things, okay? So ways to increase our metabolism, it's not the cabbage diet or the grapefruit diet, it's requiring fuel. When we eat food, our metabolism will increase because we need to burn that food for fuel. Okay. So it requires energy. If there isn't any food in our body, there isn't really a metabolism. You want to think of it like a furnace. Okay. Resistance exercises that creates muscle, lean body mass. So our metabolism will increase. Staying active, even aerobic exercise will help. And sleep hygiene, getting adequate sleep, at least 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep a night consistently. Then here's another keyword that diet culture is pulled into. Oh, let's go on a detox diet. Well, all right. Well, what are toxins? It's what we put into our body. Now, yes, there are some things we cannot control. For example, when we had those fires and all of those chemicals that were in the air the entire summer because of those fires coming from Canada, that we really can't control. We just have to be mindful and aware of when it's high and stay indoors. But there are things we can control. Alcohol, excess alcohol. Do we smoke? Are we taking in secondhand smoke? Highly processed foods with artificial coloring or flavorings or additives, and an excess of sugar. Are we taking in, for example, I think the average American is taking in around 24 to 36 teaspoons of added sugar a day. All right. So detox, keep in mind, our body eliminates toxins on its own through the liver and the kidneys and the digestive system and skin. So going on a detox diet is useless. All right. So here are the characteristics of fad diets. All right. They're temporary, unproven, quick fix. They promise dramatic results, severely restricts calories, restricts or eliminates certain food groups, too good to be true, claims to be easy, promotes increased metabolism, belly fat detoxification. What they don't address is individual needs. Okay. And again, they don't address removing that diet culture mentality. They actually feed off of that. The other thing to keep in mind is fad diets. We fall into this, what I like to call, did I eat that? And it's not necessarily a mentality, but it's a behavior that comes from dieting. It's what we call mindless eating. So think about, how many times have you been on a fad diet and a stressor hits and you end up eating something and don't even realize it? That's what did I eat that means. All right, so why lose weight? So here's the question to ask yourself, or if you're taking this presentation to learn more about how to approach your clients. But I get a lot of clients, one of the statements is they want to lose weight for the health. But believe it or not, most of them are not losing weight for their health. They want to lose it because their partner told them they should, or maybe the doctor told them they should, or it affects their self-esteem, or they don't like how they look or their appearance, or they compare themselves to others. They feel like they should be thin because that person's thin and the same height or what have you. All right. So now I ask you, who do you think will be the most successful at weight loss? Okay. So typically, if a person is truly in it to improve their health, they're going to be the most successful because they'll have something to measure. Maybe they're trying to lose weight to improve their blood pressure, so they'll see the blood pressure improve. Maybe they're trying to lose weight to reduce their blood sugars, so forth and so on. So those are things that are measurable. All right. The other things really are not measurable. And then again, why are you trying to lose weight? What's going to make you most effective? But what I really want to hone in on here and to remind people is that weight loss should be the side effect of the lifestyle change, not the goal. So this is what we're going to really focus on, is lifestyle changes, not a diet per se. But keep this in mind. People are so focused on the goal being, well, weight loss. Well, what are you going to do? What steps are you going to take to lose weight? All right, so let's get into the popular restrictive elimination diets. All right, so ketogenic, we've probably heard about this one. It's very high fat. 75% of your calories are coming from fat. So they're focused on butter and bacon and cream cheese. And then moderate protein, this is about the amount of protein that the average American should consume, about 20%. So it's not super high. And then super low in fruits, vegetables, starches, and grains. So what nutrients do you think are going to be deficient in this type of a diet? And that's what I want you to ask yourself. There's going to be very limited amounts of fiber, plant sterols, vitamin C, vitamin A. So there's going to be a risk for a lot of deficiencies. But I want you to understand too, this diet is actually medically prescribed, and it's prescribed to people with a diagnosis of epilepsy or malignant brain tumors. So there's a lot of research that shows that carbohydrates that turn to sugar or glucose actually triggers seizures. And there's been research to show that carbohydrates that turn to glucose feeds those malignant brain tumor cells so they continue to grow. So the purpose of the ketogenic diet is to reduce the episodes of seizures and or reduce the growth of brain tumors. So there is some evidence out there on that, but it's not necessarily recommended for a diet because it's not sustainable. And it is difficult. I've worked with people with epilepsy, and they have a really hard time following it. All right, then there's the macro diets, counting macronutrients. A lot of times this is promoted by personal trainers. They'll tell you eat a percentage of carbs and protein and fat. This can be a lot of work for people. People who are into numbers really thrive off of this and love it. But you know what? Let me tell you something. In a nutshell, that's how we all should be eating. And I can show you a real simple plate method way of eating that'll incorporate that percentage without focusing on it so much. Uptavia, it costs money. It's a meal replacement. They do provide supplements and snacks. There is some coaching, low carb, high protein. Whole30 is something that's like an elimination diet for a month. You avoid sugar and grains and legumes and alcohol and dairy and food additives. And then after a month, you reintroduce one at a time to see how your body responds. Meal replacement shakes. I am not a big fan of these. It's HMR program or OptiFast or Slim Fast. You've probably heard of them. And then they transition you into meals. So a lot of these are not looking at the individual's needs. They're not looking at behavior. They're not trying to remove you from diet culture. They're actually feeding into that diet culture. All right, super important to remember. Then there's intermittent fasting. It doesn't cost any money. There's several different approaches. The one approach that I have highlighted here in orange is one that I might recommend, because if I have clients eating at 4 a.m. until 10 o'clock at night, well, there's a real big window of taking in a lot of calories. So there's a 5-2 approach, which is where you would eat normal for 5 days, but they encourage sensible eating, okay? And you restrict 2 days that you restrict are 500 calories. The 16-8 means that pretty much when you're sleeping or in part of your day is fasting. And then you have a window within which you eat this 8 hours. 8 more hours might be too restrictive for some people. So we may say, okay, well then give yourself a 10-hour window, versus some people are eating within that 16 hours. Then there's a 24-hour or 36 or 72 where you're fasting for an entire day, which can be very difficult to do. You're starving your body. The premise behind the intermittent fasting is they're showing that you can increase insulin sensitivity. So if we have a lot of abdominal visceral fat in our abdomen, or as we age too, we can become what we call insulin resistant. Our cells are not receptive to the sugar that's transported by the insulin. So it gets in the blood and causes our blood sugar to elevate. So there's a lot of research that's showing that the less we stimulate the insulin, the less resistant we are, we're more sensitive. So certainly, if you can name something here that I have not listed, please feel free to place it in the chat box and share it with us. All right, so facts. Here's the facts, guys. Following something that's strict, with strict daily rules, can lead to hunger, exhaustion, and diet fatigue. Daily restriction can reduce your metabolism. Remember, we want to keep our metabolism steady. We don't want to reduce it by 23%. And daily restriction can cause muscle loss and can lead to weight loss plateaus and weight regain. Can I tell you, the more clients I see, the more clients have been on a diet, a fad diet, And as they mature, it is so much harder for them to reach their weight loss goal because their metabolism is so sluggish. All right. And then we fall into this too. The did I eat that? The mindless eating because we've been starving ourselves. All right. So here's some non-restrictive diets that encourage lifestyle and coaching. So these can be great. It's just the question is are we going to stay are we going to continue with the support and will we follow through? I think that's the hardest part for people. It's not always the people that fail. It's not the people that are failing, but it's the diet. Now with these, it's the question to the client is, can they follow through with the recommendations and will they continue to seek support? That's the key, is remaining consistent. All right. So these are lifestyle diets that encourage meal planning or coaching. They do cost some money. So there's the Mayo Clinic meal plans. They're now online. They encourage nutrient dense, not energy dense foods. There's the GOLO, which again provides supplements. This one feeds a little bit into that diet culture. Says, go lose weight, go look great. Go love life, because if you look great, you're going to love life. I don't really care for that statement, to be honest, but anyways, it could be helpful. It's not restrictive. Noom, I do like Noom. I have a friend who works for Noom, and I was able to play with the app, and I found it super supportive. There's a health coach that's involved. They reach out to you. You do meal plan. You do track everything. They give you positive reinforcement. They give you cues, things like that. So that's a great one. Can be a little pricey. And then, of course, there's Weight Watchers. It's not pricey. Weight Watchers can also encourage that diet culture mentality. There's a lot of body negativity, body shaming, a lot of measuring of the weight. It does have group support. So just be careful. Always ask yourself, are you in an environment that's positive and that's healthy and that's promoting lifestyle changes versus thinness? All right. So best diets according to US News. Now, this isn't really based on weight loss. These are lifestyles, okay? And there is evidence that these lifestyle changes will improve your health. And these don't cost a dime, okay? So there's positive health outcomes. So there's a Mediterranean lifestyle. There's the DASH, which stands for Dietary Approach to Stop Hypertension. Or there's the TLC, which stands for Therapeutic Lifestyle Changes. Volumetrics. Volumetrics is where you eat a lot of nutrient-dense foods, low-calorie foods. So lots of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean protein, skim milk, dairy products. So these all have something in common. They're all pretty much plant-based forward. All right. The MIND diet, that stands for Mediterranean, integrated with the DASH diet, to prevent neurodegenerative disorders. It's a super long title. That's why they just call it the MIND diet. And what that is basically talks about incorporating certain foods to reduce oxidative stress to the brain. And research is showing you can reduce your risk of Alzheimer's or dementia by a good 64%. And then plant-based was a promotion from the Cleveland Clinic physicians, Dr. Campbell. And I'm going to share with you some resources at the end of the program that you can certainly take a picture of, or you can revisit this video. And this gives you the resources to a lot of these lifestyle programs. Intuitive eating is all about body positivity, all about mindful eating. It's all about making peace with food. So they all have something in common. Here's what they have in common. They lower blood pressure and cholesterol. It has been proven, especially the DASH in the Mediterranean. When people eat more plant-based foods, they're high in calcium and magnesium and potassium. That's what aids in lowering blood pressure. And then they have all those plant sterols, which lowers cholesterol. It protects our cells from oxidative stress and inflammation, so we're less vulnerable to stressful situations. We feel better. We're staying fueled and nourished. Like I said, reduces risk of neurodegenerative disorders, increases insulin sensitivity. So remember, like I said, if we have a lot of visceral fat in the abdomen, or as we mature, we become insulin resistant. So the goal is to become insulin sensitive. and then allows you to make peace with food, make peace with your body. So again, remember, weight loss should be a side effect of the lifestyle changes made, not the goal. All right, so here's a quick snapshot of what the Mediterranean DASH diet looks like. You can see they're very similar. Lots of fruits and vegetables, whole grains, all right, because of the plant sterols and the vitamins and minerals. Very little portions as far as fats and meat, animal protein. So it's all plant-based forward. So the question is to ask yourself, were you going to start a diet per se, like a habitual way of eating is what I like to say, is asking yourself, is it realistic? Can I eat this way? Can I sustain this? Is it balanced? Is it palatable? Is it evidence-based? Does it promote a healthy lifestyle? Does it fit my budget? I cannot tell you how many people will say to me, it is so expensive to eat healthy. It is not. Fruits and vegetables are actually more reasonable than animal products, okay? So keep that in mind and buy what's in season, purchase what's local or grow your own garden, but it is manageable. And then does it provide support? Support is important, okay? And does it lead to yo-yo dieting? If it leads to yo-yo dieting, then that's not the dieting mentality for you or lifestyle for you. So real quick abstracts, I just wanted to show it's not about large weight loss, like big weight loss, let's say 50 pounds in a short period of time. What we're looking at here is approximately 20% of overweight individuals are successful at long-term weight loss when defined as losing at least 10% of initial body weight and maintaining the loss for a year. So that's only 10%. So one is 200 pounds and they lose 20 pounds, they're down to 180. It improves their health. Okay. So we're only looking at 5 to 10% weight loss. We're not looking at 50 to 100 pounds. That's super overwhelming. So a lot of research is showing that people who are mindful, they're tracking their intake, possibly monitoring their weight, staying active, eating breakfast, are actually more successful at maintaining their weight loss for about 2 to 5 years. All right. And then here's another fact. Again, this is just basically the same thing. Weight loss of 5 to 10% of total body weight can have enormous health benefits on those who are overweight. That's it. I facilitate a program called Diabetes Prevention Program. That's all we're looking for. This is evidence-based. People can lower their A1C with just a 5% weight loss. So how to stop dieting? Get support. Yeah, I'm going to be a little biased here because I'm recommending dietitians, but there's a lot of research when you have support and you have qualified individuals. Now, the dietitian is the one that can talk about food with you. There are also health coaches out there that are qualified to work with you, but they don't look at the whole individual. They can only coach you and they cannot look at your diet, but they can coach you in a positive way to encourage lifestyle habits. So dietitians, licensed dietitians may be covered through your insurance. So super important to find out first. All right. Dietitian can support your journey to preventing medical complications. They're there to provide you the support, the knowledge. All right. They're there to provide what we call medical nutrition therapy. So they look at the whole individual and they look at the synergy of things. How are you sleeping? How are you managing stress, eating, physical activity, and so forth? So research is showing that 50% success rate if one works with a registered licensed dietitian for over 6 months, all right, and 84% success rate if the support continues for 12 months, 12 one-hour visits. So here's the research real quick. Groups receiving dietitian interventions lost an additional 1.3 kilograms, which is about almost 2.8 pounds more than if you didn't have support. Okay, so it's really all about lifestyle balance. So the first part of it is the food groups, the plate method. Think about the plate method. Is your plate filled with fruits and vegetables, half of it, and 1/4 filled with starchy vegetables or whole grains, and the other quarter is it filled with lean protein like chicken, fish, ground turkey. And then if you're choosing dairy products, choose skim milk or plant-based, and then healthy fats such as nuts, seeds, avocados, olive oil. So this is the plate method. Keep it simple. We could all eat this at breakfast, lunch, and dinner and maintain a healthy weight. It's balanced, it's sustainable. But remember, the key here is to pair it with physical activity, 30 minutes, 5 days a week. Make sure you're getting adequate sleep, manage your stress, and even incorporate what we call intuitive eating, body positivity, remaining judgment free, making peace with food. So intuitive eating encourages more all foods fit. So if occasionally you want something, then allow yourself to have it, of course, within moderation. And that's where working with someone who's qualified in intuitive eating and biochemical data can provide you the support you need. Okay, so that's it in a nutshell, pretty much. So we're at the end of our program. This is what the plate method looks like. It's called choosemyplate.gov. That's a great resource as well. So if you have any questions or comments, or if you would like to add to my presentation, please place that in the chat box and we'll go over those. And feel free to take a snapshot of this, but this is a typical diet. This is the way we should all be eating at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. This is a list of resources. So for example, the DASH diet, there's a DASH diet action plan, which is my favorite, by Marla Heller. A Mediterranean diet, it's American Test Kitchen approved. There's the Mind Diet by Maggie Moon. So feel free to take a snapshot of these resources. Here I have the best diets. I have here resources for physical activity, resources for stress management, and then the intuitive eating by Evelyn Tribal and Elise Reich. And then here's just some pictures. I don't know about you, but I'm very much a visual person. These are some of the great books that are out there if you wanted to learn more. And again, remember, seeking support is key. So that is the end of our program. I am going to take a look and see if we have any questions or comments. All right, so is fat-free milk good? Well, let's think about it, okay? When you eat food, you want to ask yourself, how does it benefit you? Provides calcium for good bones, provides vitamin D, again, for bone health. There's a lot of us who are vitamin D deficient. We're not taking in enough vitamin D. So if we're not outside, if we're working from home, fat-free milk is perfect, okay? Not everybody likes fat-free milk. You could certainly look at 1%, but again, it depends on the person. You know, if you have high cholesterol, we're not going to encourage milk that has a lot of saturated fat, but yes, it is certainly good to consume. You know, if you're lactose intolerant, then maybe try a plant-based milk. It does have calcium and vitamin D added to it. If you are, there's also lactate out there, which is perfectly fine. Okay, how does age make a difference in food intake? So perfect, yes. So as we mature, we're starting to lose that lean body mass, which helps keep our metabolism up. Okay, so usually around 45 to 50, you're going to find that your metabolism is going to get sluggish. So that's why it's super important right now to establish those lifestyle habits and get into a routine of staying active. So it definitely does make a difference. You may find too, as you mature, that you might need to take a supplement, especially a calcium, maybe even a B12, because we tend not to absorb certain nutrients as efficiently as we did. And those things can be evaluated by your physician, but that's another great question. Okay, I think that's the end of our questions and comments. So again, that's the end of our program. Thank you all so very much for attending. I hope you found this to be helpful, and I hope that you are inspired to establish some new lifestyle or to encourage lifestyle habits, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you all for having me.